Hi, I'm Dr. Rajita. Welcome back to anatomy classes. Today's topic is diaphragm. The diaphragm. Diaphragm is a dome-shaped structure which is a musculoapneurotic partition separating thoracic cavity from abdominal cavity. It has got two domes, right dome and left dome, which are connected by central tendon of diaphragm. Embryologically, diaphragm develops from four sources. One is the septum transversum. Septum transversum develops in the cervical region within the head fold of embryo, and later in the development the septum transversum shifts caudally from cervical to the thoracic region till the level of T12. So that is the reason if we see the nerve supply, the diaphragm is supplied by phrenic nerve having the root value C3, C4, C5, which are the cervical segments. And apart from septum transversum, the two pleuroperitoneal folds which are present on the either side also give rise to the development of diaphragm, and cervical myotomes contribute in the formation of muscles present in the diaphragm, and dorsal mesentery also provides in the development of diaphragm. So this diaphragm is a musculoapneurotic open partition which separates the thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity, and it is mainly made up of two domes which are called as right dome and left dome of diaphragm, and two domes are connected by central tendon of diaphragm. And the right dome is quite fleshier and it is higher when compared to the left dome, because in the right side, just below the right dome, there is a large organ which is the liver present below the right dome of diaphragm. Coming to the relations, superiorly the diaphragm is related to, right dome is related to right pleura and right lung, left dome is related to left pleura and left lung, and central tendon superiorly it is related to pericardium along with the heart. And the dome below it is related to the liver and right kidney and right suprarenal gland. On the left side below it is related to the stomach and spleen and left kidney, left suprarenal gland. So that is about the relations. And diaphragm, it gets origin from three sources: anteriorly from the sternum, posteriorly from the vertebra, and on the either side from the ribs, which are called costal source. From the sternum, it gets origin from the lower tip of the sternum, which is called as xiphoid process, and posteriorly from the lumbar vertebra. The right crus is quite thicker and it gets origin from L1, L2, L3 along with the intervertebral disc. Whereas the left crus, it is thin and less fleshier when compared to right, and it gets origin from L1, L2 along with the intervertebral disc. So we shall talk in detail about the origin. Continuing with the origin of diaphragm, it gets origin from the xiphoid process, posterior surface of the xiphoid process. It gets origin by two slips, which are the fleshy slips, which are origin from the posterior side of xiphisternum or xiphoid process of sternum. And it also gets origin from the costal origin, that is the lower six ribs, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, inner surface of lower six ribs along with their costal cartilages gives origin, peripheral part of the diaphragm. So this origin also interdigitate with the origin of transversus abdominis muscle, which is an abdomen muscle. And posteriorly the right crus gets origin from L1, L2, L3 along with the intervertebral disc. Left crus gets origin from L1, L2 along with the intervertebral disc. These two crura are again connected in the midline by means of a ligament. You can see an arc-like ligament running in front of this aorta. This ligament is called median arcuate ligament, which connects the right and left crura. And lateral to this, there are two arcuate ligaments which are called as lumbocostal arches. So the one which is on the medial side is called medial lumbocostal arch, and the lateral one is called as lateral lumbocostal arch. This is the lateral lumbocostal arch. Here is the medial lumbocostal arch, which are also called as arcuate ligaments. So medial arcuate ligament is related to the psoas major muscle. It is formed by the thickening of psoas fascia, and it also gives origin to some fibers from the posterior side. Lateral lumbocostal arch or lateral arcuate ligament. It is related to quadratus lumborum muscle, and it is formed from the fascia of thoracolumbar fascia. The anterior layer of thoracolumbar fascia forms this lateral arcuate ligament, which also gives origin to the fibers of diaphragm. So that is about the arcuate ligaments. Median arcuate ligament connects the two crura. Medial arcuate ligament present in front of the psoas major muscle. Lateral arcuate ligament present in front of quadratus lumborum muscle. Insertion of the diaphragm. All the periphery muscles which are getting origin in fleshy fibers, they all converge to the center and gets inserted to the central tendon of diaphragm. If you see the central tendon, it is like a trifoliate leaf-like structure having 3 leaflets. Here is the median leaflet. We shall see the structures passing through the diaphragm. There are many structures which go up to the thorax and come down from the thorax into abdomen. So starting with the major openings of the diaphragm, there are 3 major openings. The 3 major openings are vena cava opening, esophageal opening and aortic opening. Vena cava opening, it is present at the level of thoracic 8th vertebra, and esophageal opening is present at the level of 10th thoracic vertebra. Aortic opening is present at the level of 12th T12 thoracic 12th vertebra. Let's see what are the structures passing through each opening. Vena cava opening is present within the central tendon of the diaphragm, and during inspiration. So during inspiration, the peripheral muscles will get contracted, allowing the dilatation of vena cava opening. So it allows the venous return during inspiration. So it is a quadrangular shaped opening. Phrenic nerve also passes along with the vena cava opening, and there are some lymphatics which may also pass through the vena cava opening arising from the liver. Next we shall see about the esophageal opening. Esophageal opening is present completely within the muscle. It is present in the right crus of the diaphragm, right dome of the diaphragm, and if we see the esophageal opening, it is surrounded by the muscle fibers, and during inspiration the esophageal opening gets constricted. It is completely closed, preventing regurgitation of food from stomach to esophagus. And esophageal opening, along with the esophagus, there are nerves which are called as right and left vagus nerves from the superior epigastric artery, and tributaries of superior epigastric vein also pass through the esophageal opening. And during inspiration, the esophageal opening gets constricted and closed. That is the effect of inspiration over esophageal opening. Next we shall see about the aortic opening. Aortic opening is present at the level of thoracic 12th. The aortic opening is completely behind the diaphragm. It is out of the diaphragm. Anteriorly it is related to median arcuate ligament, and posteriorly it is related to the lower border of T12 vertebra. And on the either side it is related to right and left crus of the diaphragm. The aortic opening, as it is completely outside the diaphragm, during inspiration or expiration there won't be any effect over the aortic opening. And along with the aorta we have got the other structures, that is the thoracic duct, and thoracic duct, azygous vein passes through along with the aortic opening, and the right crus of the diaphragm is pierced by greater and lesser splanchnic nerves, and left crus is also pierced by greater and lesser splanchnic nerves. We shall see other minor openings present in the diaphragm. Here at the origin of, between the origin of xiphoid process and the origin from the 7th rib, there is a small gap which is called as Laris space. And normally through the Laris space, superior epigastric vessels and nerves pass through the Laris space. And if it is enlarged, the spaces, the gap becomes bigger, it causes herniation of abdominal contents into the thoracic cavity. In such condition, it is called as foramen of Morgagni. And there are other structures which are related here. Next to the lateral arcuate ligament, just below the lateral arcuate ligament, there are subcostal vessels and nerves which are related to the lateral arcuate ligament. And medial arcuate ligament is related to sympathetic chain on the either side. And greater and lesser splanchnic nerves pierce the right and left crura of the diaphragm. The other minor things are the left phrenic nerve pierces the left cupola of the diaphragm just near to the central tendon, and right phrenic nerve runs along with the inferior vena cava in vena caval opening. And musculophrenic nerves and vessels, they are present between the fleshy origin of 7th and 8th origin. So between the fleshy origin of 7th and 8th, we see the musculophrenic vessels passing through. And all the intercostal vessels and nerves will pass through. The lower 5 to 6 intercostal vessels and nerves will pass between the diaphragm and the transversus abdominis. Transversus abdominis and diaphragm, they interdigitate with each other. So between the gaps of these two muscles, we see the lower 5 to 6 intercostal nerves and vessels. Sometimes the left crus is also pierced by the least splanchnic nerve. And the hemiazygous vein pierces the left crus of the diaphragm, and azygous vein passes through the aortic opening of the diaphragm. And thoracic duct, azygous vein and aorta are the contents of aortic opening. Hemiazygous vein, greater and lesser splanchnic nerves passes through the left crus. From the right crus, the greater and lesser splanchnic nerves pierces through the right crus of the diaphragm. And on the either side, near the medial arcuate ligaments, it is related to the right and left sympathetic chains, and subcostal vessels will pass through below the lateral arcuate ligament. Medial arcuate ligaments gets attaches medially to the bodies of the lumbar vertebra, that is L1, L2, and laterally it attaches to the transverse process of lumbar vertebra. Lateral arcuate ligament begins from the transverse process of the lumbar vertebra, and it attaches laterally to the 12th rib, the last floating rib, 12th rib, it attaches. So this is about the attachment of medial and lateral arcuate ligament and structures passing through the diaphragm. So the nerve supply of the diaphragm, the motor nerves arise from the ventral rami of C3, C4 and C5. The root value is from C3, C4, C5. These three roots gives origin to the nerve which is called as phrenic nerve. So phrenic nerve is the sole motor nerve supplying the diaphragm. And sensory supply, the central part of the diaphragm near the central tendon is supplied by the phrenic nerve. The peripheral part of the diaphragm is supplied lower 5 to 6 intercostal nerves. And sympathetic supply, though diaphragm is a skeletal muscle, sympathetic supply is from the celiac plexus. It may maintain the tone of the muscle of the diaphragm, preventing the fatigue of diaphragm. Blood supply of diaphragm. The diaphragm is supplied by the branches of internal thoracic artery, which are called as musculophrenic artery, and cardiophrenic branches which supply the diaphragm, and lower 5 to 6 intercostal arteries. The peripheral part of the diaphragm is supplied by lower 5 to 6 intercostal arteries, and superior phrenic artery, which is a direct branch of descending aorta, also supply the diaphragm. So this is about the nerve supply and blood supply of diaphragm. The main action of the diaphragm, it is a principal organ of respiration, and it mainly helps in inspiration. We can see the position of the diaphragm. During expiration, the dome of the diaphragm reaches higher, and during inspiration it becomes flattened. And apart from the respiration, the diaphragm also helps in circulation, because it guards the venous return at the vena caval opening. So during inspiration, the vena caval opening opens up so that the venous return into the right atrium. And all expulsive actions like vomiting, sneezing, coughing, crying, laughing, non-respiratory actions of diaphragm. The paralysis of diaphragm. Damage to the phrenic nerve may result in paralysis. If one phrenic nerve paralyzed, it may cause partial paralysis of diaphragm or unilateral paralysis of diaphragm, resulting paradoxical movements. And partial paralysis or unilateral paralysis of diaphragm, it occurs because surgical section of the phrenic nerve due to trauma or post-inflammation neuropathy like GBS, Guillain-Barré syndrome. And bilateral paralysis of diaphragm may occur due to spinal cord injury involving C3, C4 and C5 segments, or it may happen during cardiac surgery or idiopathic infection. The diaphragm, usually it has got an opening within the right crus of the diaphragm is the esophageal opening, and which is present within the muscle of the diaphragm, right crus of the diaphragm. And this opening actually prevents the acid reflux by exerting pressure over the esophagus, and it prevents the regurgitation of the food back into the esophagus from the stomach. And in hiatal hernia, the upper part of the stomach may herniate into the thoracic region through the esophageal opening, and it occurs because of the weakness of lower esophageal sphincter and results in a disease called as gastroesophageal reflux disease. Developmentally, there can be a chances of congenital hernias because of partial development of diaphragm. The posterolateral part of the diaphragm is mainly formed by the pleuroperitoneal folds, and if these pleuroperitoneal folds fails to form, it results in a hernia which is called as foramen of Bagdolek. Foramen of Bagdolek herniates gastric and intestinal contents into the thoracic cavity. And herniation, retrosternal hernia, is very common through foramen of Morgagni, which is also called as Larry space. Normally it is called Larry space. If it gets enlarged, it is called foramen of Morgagni, where anterior abdominal contents herniates into the thoracic cavity. I hope you all understood this topic. Please like, share, subscribe and press the bell button for further notifications. Bye.